The Cancer Crusade is selling daffodils at $3.50 a bunch this month. Give someone a brighten-the-day gift and help a vital cause. Contact your local cancer society. Promote the spirit of hope.
Be sure at least one person in your home knows CPR. It could save a life. From Channel 8, call the Red Cross or your local health department.
Okay, John Kelleher, team captain for Cheshire High School. Your team did pretty well last fall on our show. You racked up the highest point total we've had all season. But now everybody's a former winner. All set for the playoff round?
You bet.
And in that case, we'll give you 20 warm-up points on the board and turn to Bill Egan now, captain for Canton High. Your first-round victory was one of the closest matches we've had so far. All geared up for the second round?
Yeah.
Then, as with all teams, 20 warm-up points on the board for you, and stand by for action.
Today, 2 winners last fall return. Only one can survive on the road to a possible state championship as we enter the playoff round on the series. It's Canton High School versus Cheshire High on the exclusive Channel 8 Varsity Sport of the Mind. Now, here is the man with the questions, Channel 8's own Kenn Venit.
Hello, and welcome to Connecticut High School Ball, which is patterned after the famous College Ball. This is a project of the Channel 8 Public Affairs Department, produced in cooperation with Albertus Magnus College in New Haven. We're hoping the series will give recognition and stimulation to scholastic achievement while focusing on the positive action of today's youth. Now let's meet today's varsity scholars. First, the team from Cheshire High. They're all juniors on this team. We have Peter Turley. He is a swimmer on the Cheshire High team, which is the defending Class M champions. He's an acolyte. He's going to study political science in college, and he has a very interesting career goal. Tell us about that.
Well, I plan to be president, will be president, and John will be my vice president, and Rick will be my secretary of state.
Interesting cabinet.
Yeah.
Okay, the captain of the team, John Kelleher. He is a writer for the school newspaper, the Rampage. He plays in the Team Handball League. He is involved in the Junior One-Act Play program, and he is in the computer club, looking for a chance to study political science so he can grow up and become vice president. Tell us about the cadet language program that you're involved with.
It's a program put on by high school students to teach elementary school students Latin and other subjects.
Very good. Rick Tan rounds out the team. He also writes for the school newspaper and is involved in Team Handball. He would like to go to Yale or Stanford to study political science, of course. And how did you wind up Secretary of State on this slate here?
It's my interest in world affairs.
Okay, well, I hope your interest in world affairs pays off somehow. That is the team from Cheshire High.
We got a bad
Joining us
feeling.
from Canton High, we have Nikki Pentilla, who is a senior. She's involved in the Independent Study Program. She's also involved in dance and helps edit the literary magazine, looking to study communication and English in college. What do you do in the Independent Study Program?
Right now, what I'm doing is interning at a local station, local radio station.
Radio. What do you do? What station?
TIC, and I edit the news broadcasts.
Very good. And this is the third time you've been on this team?
I think.
Very good. Joining us also for the third time, captain of the team, Bill Egan. He's a senior in the National Honor Society, involved in student council, plays on the golf team. He has been accepted to Harvard and hopes to go there and eventually become an attorney. And we understand you're on the golf team. Tell us how much golf means to you.
Oh.
Would you make a career out of it if you could?
I don't think so. I'd rather stick to the law golf.
Okay. You'd probably find time to get on the course once in a
I
while.
hope so.
Rounding out the team back for a second season, Rob Small, a junior. Bill, of course, a senior. Rob Small's activities include being on the soccer team, and he's also on the golf team. He is the class treasurer. And we asked you this before about a career, and you were undecided last time. Has anything changed?
No decision.
Do you feel any pressure to...
I have plenty of time to wait.
I agree with you there. Relax and enjoy it. That's the team from Canton High. Our judge today from Albertus Magnus College is Sister Helen Wilksman, who is Director of Development. And helping to keep score, we have Maria Furno, a freshman from Middletown, and from East Haven, Fran Consiglio, who is a senior at Albertus Magnus College. We'll be back with the first half of play in just a moment, so stay with us.
Connecticut School.
Nominations for the 1983 Jefferson Awards brought Channel 8 many warm stories of people helping people, like Bristol's Roberta Gasick, striving to fulfill special needs of the retarded. Father Malcolm McDowell of New Britain, active in establishing soup kitchens for the needy. Doris Feldman, giving senior citizens a feeling of usefulness through the Hamden Retired Senior Volunteer Program. The deadline for nominations has passed. Watch for this year's winners in late March.
Hello, I am Archbishop Whalen. We have begun our third annual fundraising appeal. Its purpose is to help our brothers and sisters who are less fortunate than we, people such as Chris, who at 12 years of age is suffering from Down syndrome, which keeps him forever in the world of a child. The Office of the Handicapped helps Chris. So too other agencies of the Archdiocese help those who cry out for assistance. Your gift to the Archbishop's annual appeal makes this possible.
Briefly, here's how we play. We have two types of questions. Toss-ups worth 10 points apiece. Bonuses worth a stated number of points. Whichever team wins the toss-up goes on to the bonus opportunity. And we've gone over the complete set of rules with these teams prior to the broadcast. Now, that whistle begins the first half of play with a 20-point bonus waiting. Here is the first toss-up. We'd only done it once before, way back in 1960. But at the 1980 Winter Olympics...
Beat the Soviet Union, win the gold medal in hockey.
That's correct. We beat the... what did we do in what sport? And we got it all there. Okay, here is the bonus. Congress would not appropriate the money to build one. The French and English built several, even though they couldn't easily sell their super-fast planes. For 20 points, what name did they give their supersonic transport?
Concorde.
Concorde is correct. 25-point bonus waiting. He wrote about the underlying tensions of suburban life. For 10 points, who is this recently deceased author of The Worm in the Apple? That was John Cheever. Lewis Cass was the Democrat. Martin Van Buren, the Free Soiler. For 10 points, what Whig war hero was victorious?
Zachary Taylor.
Zachary Taylor is correct. The second five-year term of the UN's fourth Secretary General ended on December 31st, 1981. For 5 points each and a 5-point bonus for all four, name him and his three predecessors. Okay.
Perez de Cuellar is the new one. Kurt Waldheim
Wait
was
a
the one.
minute. The first name you gave me is?
Perez de Cuellar.
Okay, that is not one that we're seeking for.
Oh, okay. Kurt
so
Waldheim.
no
yeah.
points on that.
You
Kurt Waldheim? Okay, come on.
Don't forget Hammer.
Captain, why don't you read the list?
Okay. Dag, Hammershield, and
Yes.
Uthant.
Uthant, and you said Waldheim.
Yeah.
So you have 3 for 15 points. The one you didn't get was Lee in 45 for 53, and we were not seeking the current one. So there's 15 points on that. 20-point bonus next. Omnipotent, omniscient, or omnivorous. For 10 points, which of these words means all-knowing?
Omnipotent.
Not omnipotent. Signal and take it here.
Omniscient.
Omniscient is correct. Omnipotent means all-powerful. Omnivorous means feeding on both animal and vegetable substances. Imagine that you are swimming through the cytoplasm of a cell. Ahead of you there looms an organelle 5 to 10 micrometers long and 1/2 to 1 micrometer wide. You notice that it contains the enzymes that power respiration, as well as ribosomes, RNA, and DNA. For 20 points, identify this cellular furnace.
Mitochondria.
That is correct, mitochondria. 30-point bonus next. He was the first cabinet member named by then-President-elect Carter. After only 3 years in office, he resigned in protest.
Cyrus Vance.
Vance is correct. Identify these 3 grand places for 10 points each. First, a famous New York train station in the Beaux Art style.
Grand Central Station.
Grand Central is correct. A tremendous concrete dam on the Columbia River in Washington.
Grand Coulee Dam.
Grand Coulee is correct. One of the world's most productive fishing grounds off Newfoundland.
Grand Banks.
Grand Banks is correct. 20-point bonus waiting. At over 5,300 feet, this Siberian lake is the deepest in the world.
Lake Baikal.
Baikal is correct. For 10 points each, answer true or false to these questions about solubility. The solubility of a substance is the amount of the substance needed to form a concentrated solution with a solvent.
True.
That is not true. It is false. It must form a saturated solution. The solubility of substances is almost never temperature dependent.
False.
That is false, because it generally is. 30-point bonus waiting. He entered the television industry as a comedy writer in 1945. After producing a number of light programs and movies, he revolutionized TV comedy with series like Mary Hartman, and All in the Family.
Norman Lear?
Norman Lear from Connecticut. That's who this writer-producer is. This sudden death bonus concerns the philosopher Socrates, who loved his home city so much that he let it take his life. Correct answers are worth 10 points each, but a wrong one ends the question. What was Socrates' native city?
Athens.
Athens is correct. We'll go on. His enemies managed to have him convicted of impiety. What poison was he forced to drink?
Hemlock.
Hemlock is correct. We'll go on. What student of Socrates wrote about his trial in Apology, Crito, and Phaedo?
Plato.
Plato is correct. 25-point bonus next. Like most branches of science, enzyme studies has its own nomenclature. Except for a few old ones like pepsin, all enzyme names end, for 10 points, in what three-letter suffix?
Y-N-E?
Not Y-N-E. Can anyone else going to take it?
I-N-E.
Not I-N-E. It is A-S-E.
A-S-E.
This great wall was built in the 2nd century A.D. by the Roman Emperor Hadrian.
Hadrian's Wall.
It is not. 5 points off. I'll repeat the entire question for Canton. It's still a toss-up. This great wall was built in the 2nd century A.D. by the Roman Emperor Hadrian. For 10 points, in what modern nation would one find?
Great Britain.
Great Britain is correct. The wall. Here's the bonus. This monk gathered 30,000 men and led them to the Holy Land. Only a small portion of the ill-equipped force were still alive when the real knights arrived, but the monks survived and eventually went back to France. 25 points. Who was this charismatic preacher of the First Crusade? No answer?
No answer.
Peter the Hermit. 30-point bonus waiting. In theory, it allows different races to develop independently. In practice, it maintains white supremacy. For 10 points, identify this South African.
Apartheid.
Apartheid is correct. Racial policy. The 5 Great Lakes vary in the height of their surfaces above mean sea level. For 15 points each, identify the highest and the lowest lakes.
The highest is Superior.
That is correct, at 600 feet.
And the lowest is Ontario.
That is correct, at 245 feet. The big drop at Niagara Falls between Erie and Ontario might suggest that the latter is likely to be the lowest of all 5. 30-point bonus next. College presidents are sometimes well known, but football coaches more so. Both are identifiable with their teams and their schools. For 10 points, with what university would you associate the names of Hesburgh and Newt?
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame is correct. Newt Rockne. Which one was the coach? I'm sure you know. For 10 points apiece, identify these young men who died at the peak of their success. First, a soldier king. He died in 323 B.C. at the age of 33.
Alexander the Great.
Alexander's correct. A composer. He died in 1791 at the age of 35.
Handel.
Not Handel, it was Mozart. A politician. He was assassinated in 1968 at the age of 42.
Bobby Kennedy.
Bobby Kennedy is correct. 20-point bonus next. It's thought to be like a gigantic hurricane system. For 10 points, what?
Great Red Spot of Jupiter.
Yes, that is correct. His first full-length Broadway production won him all the 1962 season's major dramatic awards, except the Pulitzer. Some have suggested that Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf was too shocking for the Pulitzer Committee. For 20 points, name its author. Call for an answer.
Faulkner.
Not Faulkner, it was Edward Albee. That whistle ends the first half of play with a score. Canton 100, Cheshire 210. We'll be back with the second half of play in just a moment.
Do you know what to do in an emergency? Every second of the day, valuable time is lost in not knowing how to respond to an emergency. Valuable time that could decide between life and death. A simple call is all that is needed. Notify 911 or your local emergency number. Put these important numbers by your phone. If you have to look for a number during an emergency, it may be too late. Last year, thousands of accidents occurred in the New Haven metropolitan area alone. So please, don't become another statistic. Remember, saving time saves lives.
This reminder from Channel 8, the emergency number is 911 in many areas, but not all. Check for yours. Keep it handy by the phone.
I'm Senator Christopher Dodd, and I'm concerned about the 1 out of every 10 persons in Connecticut who has a speech, language, and/or hearing disorder. To those affected, expert professional help and community support is vital. And for those whose problem may be preventable, accurate information is essential. Prompt professional treatment is available. So if you're concerned because your child isn't responding to sounds and talking at levels that are right for his or her age, your spouse hasn't talked normally since his or her stroke, you feel you have a hearing loss, you are exposed to constant loud noises at your job, you should have a hearing and speech checkup. With early recognition and proper treatment, many problems can be helped, and adequate speech, language, and hearing levels can often be restored. For more information, write the Connecticut Speech and Hearing Association, the office, 1010 Farmington Avenue, West Hartford, Connecticut.
As we mentioned earlier, Connecticut High School Ball is produced by the Channel 8 Public Affairs Department in cooperation with Albertus Magnus College in New Haven. Right now, we have a message from Albertus Magnus College.
Hello, I'm Joyce Robillard. Many things have changed at Albertus since I graduated in 1972. But every time I return to this campus, I realize how much remains the same. Albertus still prepares women to succeed in life by offering them the very best liberal arts education. Here, each student is important and receives all the individual attention she needs to excel. And at Albertus, you don't live in cold and personal dormitories. Instead, you live in beautiful houses like this. I know I received the right education at Albertus. So if you're concerned about the kind of college you'll attend, consider Albertus Magnus College, the quality college for women.
Joining us now, the coaches for today's two fine teams. We have Phil Smith from Canton High, who is chairman of the Social Studies Department there and past president of the Connecticut Council for Social Studies. What was the reaction at Canton High to the first round win?
Needless to say, Ken, everybody was very pleased, but it was tempered somewhat by the knowledge that we had to play this very fine team from Cheshire in the second round.
What advice do you have to your team as they trail going into the second half?
Let's wipe out the first part of that first half and start over again.
Okay, thank you, Phil. And back once again, Bob Schaefer from Cheshire High. He teaches English and directs one-act plays there. Tell us about the reaction to your first-round victory.
Well, certainly reaction in town was very positive and in the school. In fact, we received a letter from a 90-year-old woman in town who was very pleased that her town had been represented on the show. She watches it all the time.
That's great to hear. And what advice do you have to your team as the members take a lead into the second half?
Well, at this point, not to relax too much, to maintain your intensity and don't rely on your lead.
Okay, and now, coaches, as you return to your seats, we will begin the second half of play with our score, Canton 100, Cheshire 210. The next time the whistle blows, our game will end. There's a 30-point bonus waiting. The Little Endians and the Big Endians argue about the proper way to do something in Swift's Gulliver's Travels. For 10 points, what?
What to do with Gulliver?
Not to do with Gulliver. Can anyone signal and take it for Canton? They are arguing about how to break an egg. Or an egg.
I had to guess.
It's a box with a lid, but no bottom. The lid is a flap called the epiglottis. For 10 points, what is this speech?
The larynx.
Larynx is correct, or a voice box. Your 3 clues to a political ideology will be men who held it. You'll score 30 points if you identify it after 1 clue, 20 if you need 2, and 10 if you need 3 clues. First, Pierre-Joseph Proudhon, author of What is Property?
Socialism.
Not socialism. Second clue, Prince Peter Kropotkin, author of Mutual Aid.
Anarchism?
Anarchism is correct, which opposes all forms of government, comes from the Greek for without government. 25-point bonus waiting. Even before the Revolutionary War, the colonies had used conscription of one sort or another to man the militias. Our first national peacetime draft, however, was not instituted until a year before the outbreak, for 10 points, of what war?
World War II.
World War II is correct. Pencil and paper for this holiday math. And quickly, for 25 points, add the numbers of the day of the month on which we celebrate Halloween and Veterans Day. Then subtract the day of the month of Valentine's Day. You have 10 seconds from now.
28.
28 is correct. 31, 11, 14. And you have your full bonus. There's a 30-point bonus coming up next. In this crossword query, we're looking for a word whose first letter is L, third is B, and seventh and final is Y. The volume of one of these can be expressed in volumes. Time. Say it. You said something.
Library.
Library is correct. It's good that you said it. Louder next time. 30-point bonus opportunity here. At aphelion, the planet is 50 astronomical units from the sun. At perihelion, its eccentric orbit brings it close to within 30 AU. That means that at times it is closer to the sun than the next planet in. For 15 points each, identify these two far-out planets.
Take it, Rob.
Uranus and Pluto.
Uranus and Pluto. Pluto is correct. The other one is Neptune, so you have 15 points on that. 25-point bonus is waiting. The plate supporting the continent of North America meets the plate supporting much of the Pacific Ocean and the western...
St. Andrea's Fault.
That is correct. St. Andrea's Fault. The birth dates of the writers I'm about to list span 5 centuries, from the 16th to the 20th. For 5 points apiece, match each with the century in which he was born. The writers are Mark Twain, William Shakespeare, Molière, Lord Byron, and Dylan Thomas.
Shakespeare's the 16th century.
16th correct for Shakespeare.
Molière is 17th century.
17th for Molière, correct.
Byron is 18th century.
18th for Byron, correct.
Twain is 19th.
Twain, 19th.
Thomas is 20th.
Thomas, 20th, correct. Full bonus, 25. 20-point bonus coming up next time. In 1934, she won a Special Academy Award and later became a U.S. government official. The film introduced a song many people still associate with her.
Shirley Temple.
That is correct. It was the Good Ship Lollipop, and Shirley Temple Black is what she used in government. Last March, the Space Shuttle Columbia's third flight ran longer than scheduled. Bad weather shut down its usual landing strip in California and forced it to land at a New Mexico missile range. For 10 points apiece, identify those 2 landing sites. Call for an answer.
Edwards Air Force Base.
Edwards is correct. And the other?
No answer. Missile planes?
Not Missile Planes. White Sands Missile Range. 25-point bonus coming up. T.S. Eliot, John Dos Passos, Henry Thoreau, and Cotton Mather have more in common than distinction as American writers. They are also alumni of the same alma mater. For 10 points, identified their university.
Harvard.
Harvard is correct. The first witch tells the other two, a sailor's wife had chestnuts in her lap, and munched and munched and munched. Give me, quoth I, aroint thee, witch, the rump-fed Runyon cries. Her husband's to Aleppo gone, master of the tiger. For 25 points, what is the title of this Shakespearean tragedy?
Macbeth.
Macbeth, and certainly tragedy the way I read it, but there's 30-point bonus next time up. We'll read better. The 30 Years' War and the War of the Grand Alliance were both fought in the same century as the English Civil War. For 10 points, which century?
16th.
16th is not correct. Signal one.
17th.
17th is. It was the 1600s, but the 17th century. Some folks seem to belong together. Romeo and Juliet, Antony and Cleopatra, and Paris and Helen are classic examples. For 5 points apiece, who's the romantic partner of? First, Lady Emma Hamilton. Call for an answer. That would be Lord Horatio Nelson. Carlo Ponti. Call for an answer. Sophia Loren. Dante.
Beatrice.
Beatrice is correct. 25-point bonus next time. The wheels of his goat-drawn chariot made thunders rumble. His thrown hammer was the thunderbolt. For 10 points, Thor. Thor is correct, the mighty mythological Norse god. The inmates killed a guard and 3 of their comrades while they held the prison. The state police killed 10 hostages and 29 prisoners when they took it back. In what New York State prison did this 1971 riot take place?
Attica.
Attica is correct. 20-point bonus waiting. NBC launched the first television broadcast to the U.S. public when it aired the opening ceremonies of the New York World's Fair. The president was there and thus became the first chief executive to appear on television. For 10 points, which president?
Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt is correct in 1939. Central to Islamic belief is the uniqueness of God and the special role of his primary prophet. This is expressed in the ritual statement, there is no God but blank, and blank is his messenger. For 10 points apiece, fill in the blanks.
1 and Muhammad.
1 and Muhammad. Judge? No, it is Allah and Muhammad, so you do have 10 points. That whistle ends the game. We will validate the score and announce the results in just a moment.
Here are just a few reasons not to smoke. Lung cancer, cancer of the pancreas, bladder cancer, cancer of the mouth and throat, heart disease, low back pain, a chronic carbon monoxide poisoning called polycythemia, which can affect not only the smoker but those around the smoker, especially children. Must we go on? Thank you. It's just good health.
In cooperation with the Hospital of St. Raphael in New Haven.
Graduating, anticipating, so many places I could go, but it feels so good to be guarding the things so close to home.
Right now you can graduate to the Army National Guard near home, guarding your country, state, and neighbors, and guarding your future with extra pay and new skills, and all for 2 days a month plus 2 weeks annual training.
The Guard is America at its best.
Call your Army Guard recruiter.
It's official. The final score today, Canton High School 160, Cheshire High School 405. Cheshire the winner. Our best wishes to Canton as you two of you head for your college careers, and perhaps we'll see the junior back again next year. But again, congratulations on a fine effort today and your previous win. To Cheshire, of course, congratulations go on another fine effort, another 400-plus score. And we look forward to seeing you again as you move on, perhaps toward a championship this season. So our best to you. And as you know, this is a game of quick recall, and as such, it's just an incidental reflection of the overall academic abilities of these fine varsity scholars. Both schools doing a great job preparing them for useful and rewarding lives. Next week, Amity Regional versus Massac. We hope you'll join us for that contest. Thanks for joining us today. Have a good week.
High School Bowl was created by Don Reed. It's the copyrighted format of the College Bowl Company and may not be reproduced in whole or in part without the express written consent of the College Bowl Company.
Kind of neat, and it's not just my friends. You learn a lot of different things, from music to science.
At school, we get a chance to find out what we're good at. It's the teachers, too. They really want us to succeed.
Like the coach says, we don't just learn to play ball. We learn to be part of a team, how to work together.
And play together.
Well, practice makes perfect.
This whole thing happens over and over again. I like my school, because my school likes me.
Schools don't just bring life to children, they bring children to life. But they need your help to do a better job. For more information on how we can do it together, write today.
Hi,
I'm Mike Boguslawski. It's time for National Boy Scout Week, and all of my friends in the Quinnipiac Council are celebrating. And they have a good reason to celebrate. After nearly 3/4 of a century in Connecticut, 72 years, Boy Scouting is still as modern as the times. So catch the scouting spirit and join our team of leaders. Call the Quinnipiac Council of the Boy Scouts at 288-6211. Boy, do we need scouting.
WTNH TV, Channel 8, New Haven.
From ABC News, this is World News This Morning for Tuesday, March 1st, 1983. It's 6 a.m. Now from our Washington News Desk, Steve Bell and Kathleen Sullivan.
Good morning, everyone. In the top of the news this morning, opponents in Congress are gearing up for another showdown with the Reagan administration over military aid to El Salvador.
Also, a rail strike in New Jersey is causing problems for some 70,000 commuters, while a threatened walkout in Connecticut is delayed, and the price of gold in Europe continues to fall this morning.
Now the details. For weeks now, the reports have been coming in of new advances by leftist guerrillas in El Salvador. In response, the Reagan administration is pressing Congress now for more military aid for that country, and the word's out the administration also may want to expand the role and the number of U.S. advisors assisting El Salvador's hard-pressed army. We have two reports this morning, first from Mike Von Fremd with the president in California.
As the president was traveling to California, a senior White House official made it known that a review is now underway of whether or not to send more U.S. military advisors to El Salvador. The official says the president underscored the urgency of the situation in El Salvador and wants to send an additional $60 million in military aid to that troubled country. The administration, however, downplays the possibility that U.S. advisors in El Salvador would be allowed to play a combat role. But the president, very aware that leftist guerrillas in El Salvador are on the offensive, wants to do what he can to aid the Salvadoran government troops. However, congressional opposition to getting further involved in that troubled country is fierce. Mike Von Fremd, ABC News, Santa Barbara.
This is Bill Greenwood. Secretary of State George Shultz ran into a barrage of skeptical questions as he tried to defend the aid plan before a Senate subcommittee. Shultz argued the increase would help El Salvador take the offensive against guerrilla insurgents.
I don't see any reason or any excuse why we should be supporting the idea that people who have, by military and guerrilla tactics, tried to prevent a democratic election should now aspire to shoot their way in to a government. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
The White House tried to make sense of the request for congressional leaders, summoned on short notice to hear a pitch for support.
The problem is not just El Salvador. It is the region that we have to be concerned about.
Some in Congress say it's just throwing good money after bad. $1 billion over the past 5 years.
This administration, I think, has failed to understand the basic lesson of El Salvador, and that is that a military victory cannot be bought.
The administration intends to lobby hard in hopes of turning its critics around. But officials have made it clear that in the end, the aid will go to El Salvador, whether Congress likes it or not. Bill Greenwood, ABC News on Capitol Hill.
The president today will meet with Queen Elizabeth, who's now on a week-long tour of the West Coast. Strong winds and heavy rains have forced the president to postpone today's scheduled horseback ride with the Queen at his Santa Barbara ranch. And that winter storm has caused problems for thousands in Southern California. The winds and rains have triggered scattered mudslides. Authorities posted flash flood warnings in several areas, and Linda Gelinella will have the outlook for that area in just a few minutes.
As many as 70,000 commuters in New Jersey are searching for other ways to get to jobs in New York City this morning after rail workers went on strike in Jersey. However, a strike that could have affected 85,000 more commuters in Connecticut has been postponed at least for a week. Leaders of steelworkers locals are expected to approve a new contract today that calls for a 9% pay cut. Stephen Ogg has more on the steelworkers contract in this morning's economic report.
Good morning. Tentative contract in the steel industry reportedly full of give-ups, pay cuts, and less vacation, one less holiday. But money saved would go into a fund for